Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Football. Uh, I'm debating whether I was going to do this or not, but ultimately we decided, well, let's do this. I'm smiling now. I'm not actually smiling. It's been a depressing 24 hours. But thankfully, I'm not alone in my depression. Well, I don't know if it's thankfully, but thankfully, I'm not alone. I have with me today Abhijit and Saahil on the show. Welcome back, Abhijit, after last week. And welcome back, Saahil, after a while. It's been a while since you had you on the show.
Yeah, yeah, good
Yeah,
to be here.
I know. I wish we were doing this in happier times where we could all be like, celebrating and yay, but
I feel like that's every time I do a podcast with you. It's always like after something bad
Yeah,
happens.
I was. I was hoping after last time we were like talking about after City winning the title, I thought maybe next time it will be a happier occasion.
yeah. Well, we're not allowed to have nice things. I think that's just what
Yeah,
it is. As they say, we're not allowed to have nice things. But I mean, okay. So I do want to mention to all the listeners. So this is going to be a bit of a United rant. I know when a game like this happens, sometimes you think that, oh, the other team didn't. It's about United losing and not the other team winning, and I'm cognizant of that. But unfortunately, we're all United fans here today. So this episode really is about how United lost it rather than how Villarreal won it. But in the interest of fairness, we'll start with a few notes that I had on Villarreal, and I'll start with you, Abhijit. Unai
yeah.
Emery, four Europa League titles now, probably the best, apparently the best, the most decorated manager in Europa League history. Didn't work out for him at Arsenal, but I mean, he knows how to win these competitions. He knows how to do it.
Yeah, this it's like it's his tournament. He somehow finds a way to win it. Whoever you give him, he even let's be honest, he even beat Jurgen Klopp out of it. He did lose it with Arsenal, but that's they are just Arsenal.
Yeah, well, even in moments of despair, we can always
Yes.
joke at Arsenal. Well, at least for a season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he came with the game plan. He had a game plan and he executed. He knew what he had to do. He just did it. It's not ideal. It's not something you want to see. But then that's what Villarreal do. That's what he does. He just knows. He just knew what United's weakness were, and he attacked that. Azrael, the other person that I wanted to talk about was, and this is the last Villarreal comment, by the way, for any Villarreal fans that are watching. Danny Parejo, I thought he was excellent in that midfield. Like he just looked good. And I was just wondering, Danny Parejo is someone who came to the Real Madrid academy. For those of you who don't know, I don't think he played any games for them. He's been at Valencia. I think he's been at a couple of other Spanish clubs. Is it surprising that he's never had like a shot at a big club till now?
I think from what I read, Danny Pereira was actually linked to Barca and Arsenal like a couple of years
Barcelona,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah, but then I think that there was like a whole debacle at Valencia where like they basically showed him out because he like voiced his concern with the owner and then he joined
Mm-hmm.
Villarreal. So, but he's actually gone under the radar. I don't think he even makes a Spain squads anymore. I think he's like 35, 34 right now. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely like played like a proper experienced player yesterday. Ran the show from midfield.
Yeah, he's definitely. I think he's definitely one of the
Yeah,
experienced heads. It's surprising. I mean, Spain do produce a lot of good
Yeah.
midfielders, so it's fair enough if you don't make the
Dan,
national team. But yeah, it's just surprising never to hear him getting linked. I've heard about him for so long. Like you keep
Yeah.
hearing about him. He's one of those players who
Yeah.
seems to be around forever.
Yeah,
Um,
I wouldn't even claim that I've seen him so many times because I think this might have been like the second or third time I've seen him because he played for Valencia against us when
mhm.
in Mourinho's last campaign, right? That was
Yeah,
probably the only other two times, yeah.
yeah.
So, but you just keep
I
hearing
have
about them.
personally, I have never seen Danny Parejo play a bad game in my life. Like I have watched him extensively when he was at Valencia. I've never seen a bad. He has had a terrible game or a bad game. Like I won't say I have watched every game of Valencia, but he has been consistent throughout. And like Sahil said, he was linked with Barcelona quite strongly a few years
Yeah.
back.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I think they went for Andre Gomez instead of him.
Well, that worked out well.
Yeah.
For them. But yeah, well, that's Barcelona, isn't it? But I mean, yeah, it's interesting. But anyway, this is. I mean, you gotta talk about United, and I think that this is the sad portion. Now we'll talk about this. The entire narrative coming to this game was, United are going to win. They're going to win easily. They're going to let Villarreal score one goal, and then in the second half, they're going to come back and win. Second half FC, all of that BS that was going on. And I mean, the posts out there have been very pragmatic. I didn't think this was a done deal. I don't think any United fan thought it was a done deal. But Abhijit, leaving aside what has happened 90 minutes, 120 minutes later, when you saw the team sheet at the start, what was your initial reaction?
Initial reaction, actually, I was very shocked that McFred didn't start
Mm-hmm.
because actually the team sheet didn't give me as much as confident which it had given me had McFred started because uh, Pogba, like it's always Pogba takes too long on the ball, and he gets caught out multiple times whenever he plays in the midfield. So I always prefer him on the left hand side of the midfield rather than one of them in the pivot. So not based run, but I was thinking, but to be very honest, I was hoping us to win because we have much better players than they do. Let's be honest, we have much many players. That's we thought, and I thought it will be a easier win for us considering they are a Spanish opposition who don't run as much as we do, and like it, I thought it would be another Sociedad United game, but turns out they had other plans and we had other plans as well.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, I gotta disagree on that because I kind of expected Pogba to start because Greenwood and Rashford both didn't play on weekends. So to me, it was like, well, both of them are probably gonna start, and I just thought it was a good idea because you need Pogba in the middle if the team is gonna park the bus. The only, and that was my opinion. And the only thing that I thought was that Bailly should not have started. I think it should have been Axel Tuanzebe should have started because I thought Bailly was really in bad form. And you talk about experience. I don't think Bailly's even played 100 games for United. He's been here for so long. Somebody could have told me that, but I don't think he's played even 100 games. That's he's been here for 5-6 years now. So that was the only change. But again, I kind of expected that with Oli. I mean, Saahil, do you agree with that? Do you think he should have started McFred? Fred, there was an injury thing with Fred, but even if he was fit, would you started him in this game?
So I felt like he was just like trying to fit in as many individual players with individual quality in the team as he could, because like we are a team that rely on individual quality, right? Like you have to have Greenwood in form. Rashford, even though he's not been in form, he somehow chips in with a goal or an assist, like in every game or in every other game or something. So I feel like even though Pogba hasn't worked in that central midfield role for a while, like I feel like he had no choice but to start him, right? Because like if things go bad, then you can't, like you need like players on the ball who can produce that one moment of magic, right? So I had like a few concerns, but I thought like they probably might have figured a way out to like make sure Pogba doesn't get caught out, but obviously it didn't. I thought that given the quality of the players, it was fine. Wait, sorry. Sorry, the question was about Bailly, right?
No, Pogba.
Sorry. I think there was no other way to fit Pogba in the team, given that you had to start Greenwood and Rashford, because like Greenwood was in form, Rashford again like 35 goals and assists this season. It's like he's had a pretty good season if you just look at the numbers and given the situation he's played with. So
yeah, I think he knew Villarreal were going to park the bus. I mean, that was pretty obvious. Anybody knew that. So if you start McFred, you're not going to create much. So you need creativity. I mean, for that, you want to start Pogba, and then you want to give Rashford and Greenwood, in there just for that pace. But I mean, there's things that we can tactically dissect. But I mean, overall, I thought the team that he selected was good. But that first goal, I mean, Victor Lindelof. Saahil, I mean, you're always shaking your head. I mean, I don't even want to talk about it, honestly. Like, it just, the goal itself, but I mean, Victor Lindelof, how many times more?
In this season itself, right? Like, I mean, I want to say Lindelof, obviously, but also like the structure under set pieces, right? Like, how many times are you going to concede the same goal over the course of a season? Like, be it from a corner, be it from the set piece, like, how many times does it happen again and again? Like, I feel like even though like we had a pretty cramped up season, like where we had to play like almost every midweek, but then even then you should have like enough training sessions to make sure that your team performs the basic fundamentals of set piece defending, like be it positioning, be it like who marks who. If like I feel like Lindelof as a player should have enough in him to like learn how to mark his player better, right? Like you can't just keep losing out on the on your mark on the player you're marking every time there's a set piece that's been closed in, that's been sent in. So it was pretty disappointing, but also not very surprising that we conceded from a set piece. Like I feel like all of us knew that it was like a very high chance that we're going to concede from a set piece at some point in the game.
Yeah,
but
because
like we need an upgrade though over there. Like that was my takeaway from, like, if anything, just to confirm what we have seen this season, like we need an upgrade on Lindelof. There's no other ways about it.
Yeah, it's interesting as well because I mean the template of the game was simple. Villarreal were going to sit back, they're going to park the bus, and they were going to hope to nick a goal from somewhere and try to pick a win. So all United had to do was make a fast start, try to get a quick goal, to get them out and make them not park the bus, and then use their pace on the counter. Instead, they had a slow start. They did everything opposite. They had a slow start. They let themselves get go behind, and then they're trying to struggle into chase the game. I mean, Abhijit, what does Lindelof really offer? I know it's hard to go into one place. We don't want to go into place, but I was just thinking, what does Lindelof really offer? Because he's not good in the air. He's not very physical. His reading of the game is pretty average. I mean, he's not very good at reading the game either. I mean, he has a good pass on him. He can make a few good passes, but as a defender, he really, it's surprising. What does he really offer?
To be very honest, we are actually I think we are actually very harsh on Lindelof most of the times because mostly because of his aerial ability that he's not very good in the air or
Yeah, sorry about that. We had a bit of a technical issue, so we're just going to continue from where we left off. So, Abhijit, I was just asking you about Lindelof. So,
yeah. Yeah, like I said, but by any stretch of imagination, Lindelof isn't necessarily a bad defender. You watch him for Sweden, he's extremely good there. And in most of the games, in big games, he has done well. Let's not be too harsh on him. He has done well. It's just that he lacks physicality.
I would disagree because he actually was at fault even in the Europa Cup semi-final last season against Sevilla as well. So I wouldn't say he's necessarily the best. He's consistent, but not always.
He's not. I would say in the bigger games, there is a reason Ole prefers him over Bayo or Tuanzebe because he has done well. I won't say he has been that great or brilliant, but he has done well. Even last year against Leicester in the final game of the season, he was, I think, the best player on the pitch. And even this season, as far as I can remember, against City and not City, I think I just can't remember the game. But most games he's decent. It's not like he's bad. But again, coming down to the goal, it's not only Lindelof. If you see, so Moreno ran across 3 players.
Yeah. Abhijit, you cut off there for a second. Yeah. Yeah, we can see you now. But,
yeah. Okay. Who froze? I think no.
We can turn off the video if it's better that.
Yeah, maybe you should turn off the video for the time being. Try. Yeah, you kind of like your voice is breaking in the middle. So sometimes we see you and then sometimes it's like just stop.
Okay. Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, like speaking about the goal, as I was saying, the second time it happened.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think from what the replays were showing was that Lindelof was looking at him and then he just let him run past. Not
only Lindelof.
I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's the kind of player who's going to win you matches in tournaments. Like he's not going to win you, big leagues and big cups. But anyway, we don't want to go into one player, so I think we'll move on.
It should also be taken into account that if the same player is committing the same errors in every game, then maybe there's an issue with the defensive coaching, right? Like the team has been defensively undercoached for the whole season, so questions have to be asked about the manager and the coaching team that why aren't they coaching them, helping the player improve his mistakes or changing the player if the player can't improve his mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll get on that. We'll definitely look at.
I don't think we have a set piece or a defensive coach.
Yeah.
No, I don't think.
I don't think we have a set piece specialist coach. I'm not sure.
I don't know who does the. Yeah, actually. I'm not sure who does that.
If the club has a set piece specialist, he should be the first one to be fired.
Well, probably, but
we have considered 16 set piece goals in a season.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some issues there, but we'll move on from that. And fair enough, the first goal happened, and then this is I'm not going to try to be positive here. I don't want to be positive, but the only thing I will say is that I think two players who came out looking from it with any, and we're not going to discuss it, but I thought, in my opinion, that the two players who came out with any kind of credit from this game, probably one is Cavani, because the goal that he scored, no other player in the team can score that kind of goal. They just wouldn't be in that position to score that. And I thought Scott McTominay probably had his best game ever. It's a shame it'll never be remembered and it'll be forgotten, but I thought he probably had his best ever game for Manchester United. Just the way that he ran that midfield for 10 minutes. In a midfield, there were two on each side, and he was probably the best midfield on the pitch for 10 minutes. He just tried running to tackle. It's just incredible to watch, and he gets a lot of stick. But I thought he was very good. Unfortunately, though, the equalizer goes in, Saahil, and then you've got 30 minutes to try and win the game, and he doesn't turn to his bench. He doesn't make any subs for 90. And How rare is that the team goes for an entire 90 minutes in a big final and never makes a sub? And think about this for 1 second, because if I am Dan James, if I am, fair enough, Axel Tuanzebe and Alex Telles, they're defenders. You don't bring on defenders when you're trying to win a game. That's totally fine. But if you're Dan James, if you're Amad Diallo, if you're Donny van de Beek, and you're thinking, all these other players are playing pretty shit, that's 1-1, and my manager doesn't trust me to come on and change the game. I mean, what goes through your mind like that when you think like that, right? Like, because obviously the team needs refreshments, but the manager says,
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to make it.
So just to be devil's advocate, I felt like even the players on the bench, they aren't like game changers, right? Like you don't look on the bench and you think that, oh, Dan James is gonna come on and change the game on the surface, or like Van der Beek, who is potentially one of like a first team player, but then he really hasn't settled well, which is again is like a question we have to ask about the coaching stuff. Um, and also Amar himself is like just 19 now. I think he can be trusted, but uh regardless, the way Rashford was playing, he should have been subbed off. It's insane that he was kept on for the whole of 120 minutes, and Greenwood was the one taken off after like whenever the first sub was made. But I feel like there should have been a push to win the game in the first 90 minutes. Like I feel he took a very pragmatic approach to trust penalties, which obviously didn't turn out. And a squad of our quality should have dealt with should have dealt with Villarreal in 120 if not 90 minutes. But yeah, it was absolutely shocking just to see the players labor around with like no change in tactics, no change in approach, just like trying to do the same thing again and again, hoping for one moment of brilliance to like score the goal. But that's been like a theme of our performances. Obviously, things have become more coherent, I feel, in 2021, but then it's still like a part of a part of how this team plays, especially like when things can't, they don't know how things, they can't figure out how to solve problems on the pitch.
Yeah, because I mean, to me, it was like, well, McTominay is playing good, so you don't want to take him off. But I was
Yeah.
thinking maybe you should have brought on Matic instead of maybe Rashford or McTominay, just to get control in that midfield and, then push Pogba to the left wing, and then you've got now a little bit of service going. If you don't want to bring on Donny, you bring on that, just to change
Hmm.
things up a little bit and give them that control that they needed. Because you saw Unai Emery, for all the talk of being a coward, a lot of people say that Oli was a coward, that he didn't make changes. But think about this: Unai Emery took off a striker and brought on a midfielder. He brought on Coquelin for backup once he realized he was
Yeah.
losing control.
Yeah.
So, that was his first sub. So, I mean, all
Yeah.
of that said,
And it worked out for him, right? Like his goal was to control the game and take it to penalties, where they have a bigger chance of winning than if it was just extra time. So I feel like in Emery's case, he pulled off a very good move. Like he
yeah.
kind of like risked not being able to come back from if he went 2-1 down, but he still kept it at 1-1. So credit to him, worked out.
Yeah. He realized that he was losing
But
control of the midfield. McTominay was dominating it. I mean, so he probably felt, let me get on another midfielder. Let me try and invest that control back. So that's the idea.
but
Mhm.
if you think of it, like for all the coward talks we would give Emery, it was all Villarreal in the 30 minutes of extra time. There was no
Mhm.
United. There was
Yeah.
Hmm.
United was not
Yeah.
playing, not attacking, nothing. We were just sitting back, and we were and they were putting in balls every minute into our boxes, and we defended well, I would say, but we did a decent job defensively. They even got even Moreno got once they got behind us two, 3 times, and he made all five
Yeah.
changes before the extra time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there was more of an intent to win in the extra time by Villarreal than of United.
Yeah.
And to be very honest, I would say like I won't like to sugarcoat the words, but this is the worst game. Ole's man management is the worst I have ever seen in by any manager in any game. Like it's like worse than what Mourinho did when we lost 3-0 to Tottenham. Like I will not
No,
like
that,
okay, they're
yeah. I
not
mean,
like good.
that's,
Yeah, you need to ball transition and play quick passes. You have a certain Juan Mata on your bench who can possibly do that, who can find spaces. You have Donny van de Beek, who I know hasn't been too good, but Donny can always find spaces with his runs, and he could have might have been something new, fresh to it deal him. But you kept playing Rashford, who was a who all I think probably his worst United performance, and you took off Greenwood, who is the only one who is direct and was a bit of a threat in I think second half. Also, he also faded out, but in the first half and also till
yeah, there was a
75 minutes,
5 minute period
he
where
was
he
very
was,
lively.
yeah, doing
Yeah, he
something.
was very lively till the 75th minute. I would say one of our best players in the game. I took off and then you bought on Fred. and the entire 30 minutes you let Villarreal do the talking. Like ideally, to be very honest, they deserve to win more than we do.
Yeah.
It's not like if we won on penalty, we would have been the luckier team which won on penalties because if you see Villarreal, we had 2 shots on target in the whole game. Like come on, you won't win a title by having only 2 shots on target.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would have been lucky if we won on penalties, but we'll come to that in a moment about penalties. So that's a big thing. But I don't want to talk about Donny van de Beek. I think a lot has been said about what, individual players and all that. I think we've got a season review coming up next week, and we'll talk about individual players and why I think Donny van de Beek didn't play this game. But it's still surprising. I mean, you said 100-minute that Fred went off. I mean, we'll talk about individual performances because that's kind of where we're going. I mean, Rashford, you touched on it. Rashford had probably a stinker in this game. I honestly think, and this is a controversial opinion, but this is why I think Rashford should just tell England that he's not going to go to the Euros. I think that's just what he should do. For the sake of his career, I just think that is what he should be saying, is call up Southgate.
Yeah, even like we were discussing in the group, I'm pretty sure he will, if he continues doing what he is doing right now, he will be done by 26 or 27.
Yeah.
He will be what Jack Wilshere is today.
You don't want like one more Michael Owen kind of a case.
He will be what Jack Wilshere is today.
Yeah, he has not had a break. I mean, I know there was a COVID 4-month away, but he was rehabbing from injury at that time. He just immediately came back into the team after the injury. He didn't have any extra time. I just think for the sake of his career, and I know he won't do it because he's too proud to do that. But I think he should just pick up the phone and do something. You know what?
Yeah, no, I think Rashford should think about it because if we sign Jadon Sancho, who is effectively better on the left hand side than the right hand side, and we have a Mason Greenwood and Ahmad who are both brilliant talents who might break into the team anytime. Where does this leave? Who is the one who is going to get dropped?
Yeah,
next season.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty impressive.
I can see. Right. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, if we sign Sancho, I can see Rashford going to the bench.
Yeah. I feel like that's a little harsh on Rashford, given that he's still got like 20 goals and 15 assists this season, even though like we know he's been playing with an injury since like Jan 2020, right? So yeah, I feel like given a break, like if he's given a break, he should be back to like even better numbers. Like he's potentially like a 25-30 goal 30 goal scorer, I feel, in a season if he's like fit and firing.
Yeah, he just needs some time. Like he needs some time off. Like where he shouldn't be thinking about football at all. Not even just being dropped to the bench. He should not be thinking about football at all for like a month. Just go away, clear your mind. I know mental health breaks are not a thing in football, but he needs it. He just needs.
I think Rashford's been playing 40 games a season, 40 to 50 games a season since he was like 19, right? And he's like, I think he's 23 right now, so that's 4 years without any breaks, like constantly playing with injuries for the last year and a half. That's not good for a football. And like Ole also ran him to the ground, I feel like, when he played him in that 2019 season in the first half, because the injury was coming, right? We could tell that something was wrong with him the way he was going down in games.
Yeah, but, it's just I mean, definitely something needs to be done about that. Mason Greenwood, I didn't think he had a good game. I know, Abhijit, you said he was one of the best players. I don't think he was that good. He had a 5-minute spell in the end of the second half. He was going past players, but otherwise, I thought he was just anonymous. And I think the one thing that for me, when I look at Mason Greenwood, for me, he looks like a one-trick pony. Like his only trick is that he's run with the ball and he can make you think whether he's going to go on his right or he's going on his left. And that's his only trick, that he can decide where he goes.
I would disagree. He has improved various aspects of his game this season.
He had a good 3 months last season. At the end of last season, he had a very good 3 months. Then he regressed, and he had another good 2 months at the end of this season. He just seems like one of those players who plays in bursts.
No, it's not like that. I would strongly disagree, because last season the only thing he was good at is scoring goals. Now he is good at passing. His passing has improved much better. He's putting in crosses. Half of the crosses which Cavani has scored has been crosses by Mason Greenwood. Although he wants to be, and even he's heading. He's working on his. I don't know. Ole has said it. He's working on his movement and heading as well. So Mason, I have watched him thoroughly when he was in PL2 in our academy. Like him and Hannibal Mejri are the two talents I definitely see playing for us. Others I cannot guarantee, but Mason is too good a talent to fail. He's certainly not a one-trick pony, I would say.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he's a good talent. I'm not saying that he's a bad player. One game doesn't make you a bad player. I'm sure he's a good player. He's very good and probably better than many of his age group. It's just, to me, he feels like he's still an instinctive player, that he sometimes doesn't think when he does things, and that part needs to improve, because eventually defenders will figure you
But
out
he's,
if
but
you keep doing the same
then
thing.
again,
So
he's, yeah, but then again, we'll be being harsh on him because he's just 20.
Yeah.
He's
that's
just
true.
That's
I mean, I
that's
get it,
also,
but maybe it's
I
like
think that's also pretty
at
coachable,
20.
right?
Not everybody can be Messi at 20.
Yeah.
Ronaldo at 20 wasn't even was scoring 4 goals in a season.
well, yeah. Well, I mean, we're
Yeah.
not really. I mean, I'm not. Well, Rooney was scoring more goals, though, so maybe he can be Rooney.
But even
Rooney
then,
was a
No, I'm
different beast.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Rooney
I
was
hope he doesn't go like Rooney. I'd rather have him like 15 years be good than be good for 5 years. But yeah, I mean, and the only other one, I mean, Paul Pogba. I mean, Saahil, you first just touched on this a little bit. That is Paul Pogba now? Should he not be considered a midfielder and just be considered left winger? Because I think he has had his best season ever for United. This season, I think he's been the best. Then there's no doubt about
huh?
that. But he's played a lot of games as a left wing. I just feel that as a left winger, as a Silva type left winger who can come in and do the things, he looks very good. But when he plays in midfield, he just doesn't look the same player.
I still think that this first season was maybe better than this because I feel like at that time he was controlling games from deep when he had like two players around him. But so it's a little harsh on Scott McTominay. But then if you get an actual defensive midfielder who will do a lot of the dirty work
Yeah.
for Pogba to for Pogba to to set up a platform for Pogba to perform, I feel like he can have an even better season next year. On the left wing, like obviously he has done very well, but then I feel like he has a lot more scope to play better from the center of midfield, right? Because like you have more visibility over the pitch, even though he's been cutting in. Like I feel like that kind of ruins the structure of the team, right? Like if a team can figure out like at what exact time Pogba's going to cut in and Luke Shaw's going to bomb forward, you have like a big void on the left hand side of your team, right? And it won't take teams too long to figure that out, right? It's like obviously both of them have done really well, but then like there's an obvious issue with the whole structure because like you can't have Fred and McTominay just like perform like a screening role because that they're doing that because two players are doing the role of one person. So I feel like you integrated a defensive midfielder who's really good at screening stuff and stopping counter attacks while also having a real left winger perform them there while also having Pogba trying to orchestrate play from the center. But obviously, I think like there's no question he should be given a contract made to stay on if possible, and then yeah, and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I mean the contracting is interesting. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think he's gonna run down his contract and he's gonna move on. I think that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
That's I think
but
that's the plan.
I
Yeah, but
I
it's
have
not
a
that
quite
United don't
different
want
view
to get a
about.
contract. I just don't think he's gonna sign
but
up.
I would rather United like let him run down his contract instead of selling this season just to like have a real go at the title next season. I feel like there's an enough of a platform with like two or three more signings. I feel like there's a chance we can like at least close the gap down to like 2 or 3 points to the top instead of like whatever 12, 13 points this season.
Well, that's very optimistic. We'll talk about that in our season
Yeah.
review in a month's time.
Yeah.
But Abhijit, you were saying?
Yeah, I was saying, there's no two lies about it. Pogba is one of the best midfielders yet he is. On his day, he could just win you games on his own. He won't need it. But if he's not a midfielder, I don't see a place for him in the team. Because let's face it, he's not that good of a left winger. He's not going to give you goals from left wing, nor he's going to keep giving you assists from left wing.
Mhm.
I disagree
Yeah.
because I think
So
he's got a good partnership with Cavani, and I think if you play him further
yeah, he's
upfield,
good.
he does do that work. Like basically, he's not going to be a goal scoring winger. He's never going to be. I think he looks like a Silva type winger where you expect him to sort of as a fast winger, you expect him to come inside and then put crosses in, which can be converted because his long passing is really good. So that's where I think, and that's I think
Yeah,
how
yeah.
Oli invested. It's kind
There's
of like Jack Grealish, right? Jack Grealish doesn't score a lot of goals, or but he gets a lot of assists, and he's that kind of gliding midfielder. From the wing. That's what I think. That's what I see interpret his role as, and I think that
But
is
it is
what.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it is also
I would agree. Yeah, but the point is, who would you take on the left wing? Whether you suppose I'm more than hopeful that this season we are probably going to sign Sancho.
Mhm.
Like we might not, but I'm more than sure that we are going to sign
I
Sancho.
have thoughts on
But if
that, but
Sancho signs,
I have thoughts
yeah,
on that, but
yeah,
I'll leave that for now. Yeah.
yeah.
probably. But if you sign Sancho, who plays on the left wing? Does the Rashford plays or Pogba plays? And if he's not playing as a midfielder, I don't see him. Bruno is irreplaceable in the
Mhm.
team now. There's no
Yeah.
way Bruno is. So if he's not playing, then where does Pogba fit in? But like Sahil said, I would definitely like to keep him unless we are getting a defensive midfielder by selling him. That's the only point I would like wish that he goes. Otherwise, if I would rather keep him and challenge for the title next season and let him go for free. That would be fine by me as well.
Yeah, I think they will get a CDM. I think a CDM will be bought. I think Scott
Yeah.
McTominay will become a squad option next season. I think that's what it will be. He'll probably
Yeah,
rotate with
because
Pogba.
as good as he was last season, we've seen enough of what the issues are with Scott McTominay, right? Like he can't really, like he's not a proper defensive
He's
midfielder. He's
not.
more like a, yeah, he's more of a box to box player, and like it's good to have him on the bench, but then he's not like what we need for the team to function as a whole
Yeah,
properly.
he's never going to be a top CDM. That's just
Yeah,
impossible. He actually wasn't even a midfielder when he came to. That's why his passing
yeah,
is very average. Like that's
yeah,
he did better finally. He was a
Actually,
centre forward.
actually, he was a center forward in the team. I
yeah.
think when we got relegated
Yeah, I
from
mean he
from
can
tier
score
two
goals.
when we
So
got.
for a midfielder, he can score lots
Yeah,
of goals. I think
that's why
Yeah,
he
yeah,
scores goals.
yeah, that's why
yeah.
he's
Yes,
a good goal scoring midfielder, but doesn't really offer much. But anyway, that's on Paul Pogba. I think we have to come, and I'm going to continue individual performances, and I need to talk about penalties. And into penalties. I mean, I know a lot of people say, and I made this rant there. I know a lot of people say penalties are not, the fault of the goalkeeper. You've got to cut the goalkeeper slack, and all of that. I take all of those points. But when you consider 11 penalties, when you let every other player score 11 penalties, you've got to think: is there something I can do differently? And David De Gea hasn't saved a penalty in 5 years now. That is an incredible stat. I don't know any other goalkeeper who's gone that long without saving a penalty. Uh, and again, David De Gea is not the reason why we lost the game. I need to make that very clear. But he is the reason why we lost that penalty shootout. So if you can make a distinction between the two, that I think that there is a distinction. I think in my mind there's a distinction. But if you make that distinction between the two, it's just that. But I mean, Saahil, we talked about this on Facebook. We talked about this back and forth. There's a technical issue with David De Gea. There's a lot of
Yeah.
technical issues. There is a technical issue with David De Gea, and I don't know if Dean Henderson is the answer. I don't know that. But would you now say, okay, if a good offer comes in for David De Gea in the summer, then yes, we should cash it and try and get another goalkeeper?
I'm really into the idea of like sending a Donnarumma on a free if possible, because obviously it's a Raiola, he's a Raiola client, but I feel like just to get De Gea's wages of the contract, I really love that David De Gea is probably like my favorite player for the longest time. Like doing all the like from Manhal to Mourinho, from Moyes to Mourinho, like around that time. But then to have a player you pay like almost like 400,000 pounds a week just to be like a cup keeper is not a viable thing. It's not good for De Gea also. Like I'm sure he wouldn't want that if an offer comes in, definitely sure. But I don't think an offer is gonna come in for De Gea. It's impossible he's gonna let go of the wages. But it's obviously another blunder from the hierarchy at United to give such huge wages just to demote the keeper to number two. Unless obviously De Gea takes us extremely personally, like trains like crazy over the summer and comes back a keeper, even like 80% of his 17-18 form. That would be that would easily make him the best keeper in the league over there. But that's extremely unlikely. I've thought of this multiple times. Like for the last 3 seasons, I thought, oh, De Gea's gonna come back stronger. He's gonna come back stronger, but he's only gotten like I think he's a kind of like stagnated to his current level over the past, let's say, couple of seasons. I think like it's been the same thing. Like he's like you would expect Dyer to make an error like in one game out of like seven or eight, which is not good enough for a keeper if he want to challenge for the title. That being said, we have no. We have nothing to suggest that Dean Henderson would also be is also going to be like a completely error-free keeper. He's also like kind of messed up a couple of times. I think like the Liverpool game comes to mind where like his positioning was completely off. So that being said, you probably want to keep De Gea just to keep Henderson on his toes unless you're getting an absolute world-class keeper from somewhere, and that would just that would mean that they would have to sell both Henderson and De Gea because both of them wouldn't want to be number two for sure.
Yeah.
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 Because
I would
they have a fighting
yeah, I
chance
would
to be
take
number one.
yeah, I would take an offer for any of them. Both of them have been same. Like they both make same mistakes. They both have a mistake in them. Both have butterfingers. Like and it somehow also lies responsibility also lies on the goalkeeping team. Like both
Yeah.
of them are making the same errors. How are they both your keepers who are of a very different mold making the same errors game in and game out?
I mean, I don't think they make the same kind of errors. I think De Gea's error is more that he's a good shot stopper, but he's not very strong. So if you hit a shot hard enough, he will probably spill it or do something. I think Henderson, his issue was more that I think he was more mental
Yes.
because I think he was trying to prove himself and he was being over eager on things,
Yeah.
and that was the issue. So I think Henderson's issue is more of a mentality issue. I think De Gea's issue is more a
But
technical flaw.
I feel like
that's not
Henderson.
Yeah.
Henderson should never. Against Milan, that goal should never go in, which Henderson should have definitely saved. And then against Liverpool, he spilled it right for Firmino to score.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so he has not been very,
Yeah. No, I agree.
good as well. Not given me the confidence to.
I
So
agree.
if
I
a
agree.
offer comes in, but we don't have anyone on the market except Donnarumma, who is probably is going to go to Juventus.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I'm
So,
not very
but
convinced with him either, to be honest. As I've seen some
It is.
high profile errors
It
from
is
him.
also true that, but it is also there that Henderson has a lot of age on his side. Like I feel like his issues will probably be fixed with like proper coaching.
goalkeepers
Like
played.
you know,
De Gea, yeah,
De Gea being
De Gea
30, making the same errors for the last like 2 years is a little baffling and makes you question like what is exactly going wrong? Is it De Gea unwilling to learn? Is it the coaching? Is it the
I
coaching
think,
system in place which is not benefiting him? Like it's just a little confusing, right? And we go back to Lindelof as well, making the same error over the course of the season. So why are these players not learning from their errors? Like why are the same errors being happening for like 10, 12 months in the season, right? Like
yeah, I think De Gea has been bad since that 2018 World Cup. I think that
yeah.
Ronaldo goal that he let
yeah,
in, I think that is playing on his mind a little bit, and he's there's a flaw there that I think people have kind of exposed him for it.
I feel
I
like
think that's my take
but
on
it's
it.
also that in today's age of like sports science and sports psychology, that shouldn't be happening. Right? There has to be something more than that. I feel like that's just like a conclusion we're making, but then there should be a little bit more than that. At least I hope there is like there's a proper
no,
issue
but
behind it, and not just
yeah,
like one
it's just
Ronaldo
not
goal he
the
conceded.
it's just not the mistakes. Even his shot stopping has decreased quite. Before that used to be
Hmm.
like the best in the world in shot stopping. He's not anymore. He doesn't make saves as many shots that he used to once upon a time. Yeah. So
I think, yeah, I mean,
even
there's
if the
lots. I
higher
mean,
leaves,
yeah, we can.
obviously he has been. He was the only player who performed for us in the banter era when we would definitely be finishing in the bottom half of the table each season had it not been for Daya.
Yeah, no, I mean that's
But
fair, and I mean that I can do a whole video on De Gea's problems and what I think his technical issues are. I don't know. I can only claim to know. But I mean, I will talk about De Gea's penalty issue. I will talk about that because I thought that was very interesting what I noticed, and maybe you guys can mention in the comments or you can mention here as well. I mean, if you think that what I'm saying is just bollocks, it actually makes sense. But before that, Abhijit, I just want to ask you this: if you were Solskjaer, you have one. I believe United only made 5 subs, so they do get 6 subs if you get in. He had 1 sub. Should he have brought on Dean Henderson for the penalties?
of course, of course, he should have bought. See, he went with the higher. It's okay, totally fine. Like it's not necessarily that I'm not saying Henderson would have won us the game. That's not sure. But he could have gone for Henderson just to change things up a bit. But they definitely practiced with the higher. They wanted the higher to go in the goals because it was all planned.
Yeah.
So that's why the making change, bringing on Henderson would have made no sense because he wasn't in the plans to play in the finals.
Yeah, well, not to start in the final, but to come on as a sub for the penalties because I mean,
but
De Gea had to start
yeah,
the final. He played very well against
yeah,
Roma.
but
You couldn't drop him after that. He had to play the final, that's for sure. But it's just for the
yeah,
penalties.
but
I was
usually,
wondering.
but that should have been decided pre-game, not post-game. You cannot just suddenly go tell Henderson go get ready. You have to say penalties, or the higher we are subbing you, he will go say. That should have been done before the game.
Well, yeah, I mean, it should have
And
been. I'm
to be
saying,
honest,
should it have been done? Should it have been thought about? Like somebody
yeah,
should have
that's
thought
what.
about it,
But
right?
I don't.
I'm sure.
Not only not the higher. Nobody thought it would go to the penalties. We all thought we would win comfortably.
I I get that, but I think you plan for contingency. That's what good management is. You plan for
Yeah,
contingencies, right? Nobody
and there was
thought.
no plan for content.
Yeah,
There was
nobody
no
thought it's not an
plan for it.
excuse,
Didn't
right? I mean,
even.
like, to be honest, I didn't take it for granted that United were going to win, and a lot of people like United going to win. I was like, this could go to penalties, this could go to
Yeah.
extra time. Anything can happen, right? United struggle to break teams down. We could be
Yeah,
playing for a 0-0.
yeah.
If we let that game go without extra time, we'd still be playing right now, probably, because both teams didn't want to score the team in that game. But I mean, it's just,
The
I mean,
contingency.
the only note I don't want to make this day here is Henderson, because I think we'll keep that for the season review show. But I think if there's one thing I say is I would not get rid of Dean Henderson just yet. I would send him out on loan next season. He needs a loan to a club that's playing in Europe just to see if he can handle it for one season. He needs to go somewhere. I don't know where he can go, but that would be something. But anyway,
I would
let's
rather-
talk about technical.
I would rather keep him. I would rather keep him. I'm okay with Henderson in our goal as well. Either of them, it's okay because we have much more problems on the
Yeah,
pitch and
that's
then the
also
goal.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are bigger
we don't
problems
have
in that
any.
one. That's one's not
We
really a
don't.
problem.
Yeah,
but-
we don't have a defensive midfielder. So like our both our centre backs will always be at risk.
Yeah.
Maguire has
And
to
like-
pass the ball to Rashford every time.
And also
Correct.
credit to De Gea that De Gea has been like pretty solid in the Europa League. Whenever he like got shifted to being the cup keeper, I thought he done really well till the penalty shootout, which I don't know.
Yeah.
Which obviously it's a penalty shootout. We know it's an own league test, but before that, as a normal keeper, he had done really well
Yeah.
in the like 4 or 5 games he played. I think.
Yeah, I don't think he had a bad game at all. Until the
Yeah.
penalty shootout, I didn't think he had a bad game at all. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just that point there. But I mean, like I said, they didn't lose us that game. He lost us that shootout. He didn't lose us that game. He's not the reason that you goal.
But
For the one time he
but yeah,
passed the.
he
But
should have
yeah,
done better for the goal.
yeah.
But he should have done better for the goal we conceded. He could have come out.
Maybe. Well, I mean, maybe he could have come out. Maybe
Yeah, but
force the defense to deal with it.
maybe Moreno would have scored either wise. But had he come out, he would have closed in the angle, and he would have probably saved it.
That's a matter of opinion. And maybe the defense should deal with it. Maybe he should come out, and maybe he should be expecting that the defense isn't competent enough to deal with those things, so he should come out. But anyway, but just to know on the penalties, and I want to make this point, and I know we're running out of time, so I just want to quickly touch on this. So when I was in school and I played, I'm not. Can you see my frame that I'm absolutely? I don't have hard shots on me. I cannot hit a hard shot if my life depended on it. And obviously, you come up against goalkeepers that are probably bigger than you. And what I realize is, if I try to go for power, I'm never going to score. But what I realize is that when you play against school goalkeepers, because they're shit, because they're in school, what you can do is most of the goalkeepers give their position very early, and so you can kind of, if you wait long enough, you'll know which side you have to hit because the goalkeeper is going to go the other side. As you get older and as you play with better players, you realize goalkeepers don't do that. They don't let you. They don't let you make that decision right away. They let you make that decision as opposed to making it for you. And then I saw 2 penalties again from De Gea in this one, and I only saw 2. So I'm not trying to make a judgment on all 11, but I'm using that as an apportion for all 11. It just felt that De Gea was going to one side very quickly. It's like every time, and I saw this on Raul Albiol, and I think I saw this on Ra as well. Ra actually shot straight. So all De Gea had to do, if he was waited long enough, he could have probably held a leg out. He could have done something and saved it. For the Albiol one, it was really obvious. If you saw it, he'd already dived. Albiol was still in his run-up. He'd already made a decision, I'm going to go to my right. And Albiol slots it to his left. And I mean, that's just it's amateur goalkeeping. It's naivety. It's just shows it's like I'll dive one side, and if I get it, I get it. But if I don't get it, it's fine. Like, I'm a goalkeeper, it's okay. This is saving is beneath me. Saving a penalty is beneath me. It almost felt like that body language is where if you saw his body language, like, it's okay. I missed a penalty. I'm not going to save one. It's okay. And I was like kind of left hoping, someone please sky a penalty. Please just miss it because David De Gea is not going to save it. I need you to go off target because if it's on target, it's a goal. It's bad to see. That's not what you expect from a top class goalkeeper. And I think if he had a little bit more sense, if he had a little bit more anticipation, I'm not saying he would have saved any of them. He might not have saved any of them, but there's a chance he might have saved one. The way he was going about it, he was not going to save one. Even if he had 100 penalties, we'd still be going. If it was up to David De Gea to save them, we'd still be going right now because he was not going to save any one of them. The way he was playing, somebody would have had to miss one. So, I mean, that's just my 2 cents. But let me know what you think. I mean, in the comments, do you think it's accurate? And the same thing I saw with the shot as well. It was like hit and hope. Like, it already made his decision that I'm going to go this side no matter what. Didn't look at the goalkeeper and just took the shot. And then it was like, okay, if it goes in, it goes in.
Actually, when you compare it with the penalty the Villarreal keeper took, he smashed it, man. I was like, what the hell? How is this guy scoring a penalty like that? And then you look at De Gea, who's like, just like, was a very
Rulli's penalty was my favorite.
Yeah, that's why I lost it. I was like,
all the
this
penalties
not
were pretty
happening.
good. I think Shaw's one was probably the worst of the lot. Like, Shaw's one should have been saved, but it somehow swerved in. I was like, that's when I
Shaw and Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno's was also
Bruno's he got a hand to it.
Yeah, Bruno's was, I think he actually expected the bounce to be a bit higher and it went under his thumb. Shaw's was like he actually pushed it inside on his own. Like, it was like, oh my god, how the hell did it go in? And you think, but it's okay. But finally, final thoughts on this. I know we're running out of time. Abhijit, what's next for Oli?
Just 2 things. Yeah, just 2 things. Let's see. Saving penalties is going to get ever since the rule has changed that you cannot come off your line as the penalty will be retaken. The saving penalties is now a very difficult job. Now you will even if you will see most penalty shootouts will go very long because the keepers actually have to guess. Like if you have against PSG, Navas brilliantly saved Bruno's penalty, but Bruno did a hop skip and he jumped outside out his line. This will keep happening because that's so saving penalties is going to get much more tougher for players from now on. But yeah, like I said, De Gea should. We all know De Gea isn't good enough in penalty shootout. So and those two penalties were like Albiol one. That was more out of desperation. He thought, let me jump. Maybe he will shoot and I'll save it.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but
Yeah.
he'd already made. Yeah, but anyway, I was just gonna say, what's next for Oli from here? Because I mean, it's a bad loss. It's one that's gonna hurt him for a long, long time to come. But what's next? How do they recover? What do they do?
He needs to fill the gap. Simple as that. Need a DM, need a right winger, need a centre back, and probably a backup right back for Wan-Bissaka because nobody else is there to
Yeah.
play right back. These floor players he needs. Maybe then we can challenge for the title next season. Hopefully, because the City, obviously City, we can overtake City. It's not like this City is invincible team. This is not an invincible team. If they sign Harry Kane, they are definitely going to win. But if they don't sign Harry Kane, we can definitely beat them.
Oh, there's Liverpool and
Yeah.
Chelsea will be better as well. But Sahil, mentally, what can Oli do to like rouse the players for next season? Because if he has a bad start to next season, coupled
Yeah.
with this loss, it just
Uh,
weakens his power, doesn't it, at the club though? Like if you come in with a trophy, you're like, well, now give me the players that I want to get you that big Premier League. But now he's like, well, I didn't do that, so the Glazers can be like, well, you didn't do that, so now we'll give you less money.
I really want, like, obviously, we want new players. We want, like, Jadon Sancho. We want a central defensive midfielder. We want, I think a striker is also very important. You know, you have Cavani and Martial, but Cavani's 35. He's amazing, but, you know, you never know. One injury and he could be out for a while. Martial, you can't really rely on at this point. So strikers, centre back is obviously important. But then I really, really want the coaching staff to, like, focus on some of the very obvious issues that have been happening, right? Like, how do you, like, first of all, it's always set piece defending. The other one is the positioning between Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka. Please somehow figure it out because those two always confuse. Like they're so close to each other. Like the Leipzig games comes to mind. Right? Like Angelino was just like having a free reign over this. So there are like some very obvious issues to figure out by the coaching team, which like it's high time they have like some time off because of the Euros and stuff. Last season you can excuse that this it was like just a 3 week break, so there was no time, but there should be ample time to figure out all that out. But as far as progress goes, I try not to take like a final loss as like a reflection of a whole season. I feel like we have already have shown enough improvements, especially like after the start we had to the season. Like so in 2021, like from like say November 2020, we have been pretty good in the league. We have lost like what I think, like say before the time we like secured second, we lost like I think just once or twice in the league, right? Like one was to Arsenal, one was to Sheffield United. So I feel like that's a good sign of progress. I feel like the team has become more stable as well. Like there's like the attackers know how to like break down defenses. Like there's the whole thing about we can't break down low blocks, but then I feel like we have done well enough to like beat teams like Burnley, Palace, and all that, and all those teams like recently. Like we were able to be to like dissect the low block. We are still a team who thrive on transitions, but then like I feel there's ever since Pogba moved to the left hand side, he's been like helping the team just like create chances while in possession as well. So there has been more control for a while. So I feel like there is an upward trajectory. I feel like we should just ride on the upward trajectory till we know that there is that Ole reaches the ceiling, which could be anything. Because I feel like he's also building a solid base. Like he's not losing the dressing room. The players are very united. So even if he leaves, he leave a very solid base. So I feel like we should just ride the wave till we know there's a ceiling, and then Ole will probably walk himself when he realizes that he can't really improve this team anymore.
Yeah, yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. What his, I mean, it's always to talk about what his ceiling is and what he can
Yeah.
achieve.
Yeah, I feel like he's also like kind of always surprises. Like, no one really thought we were gonna
Yeah,
finish second, right? So
yeah, after the kind of summer he had,
yeah,
second is a overachievement.
yeah,
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Yeah,
even without the kind of summer that he had, second would be an overachievement with that
yeah.
squad
And again,
because
it's not a
I don't think
viable
overachievement.
way
anybody.
to finish second because
Like they bought him zero players from last season, zero new starters from last season, except Cavani,
yeah.
who also was injured throughout the first half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Like they bought
Cavani
him
wasn't a
zero
planned
players.
signing. I mean, like they might pretend that it was planned signing. It wasn't. It was a panic buy
Yeah, yeah,
at the last
Panic
moment. But
buy.
that's what it
yeah.
was.
Yeah, yeah.
It worked out,
Uh,
but it was a panic buy. But anyway, we'll talk more in our season review. As Saahil said, one game does not a season make, and we'll probably try and analyze that a little bit more. There's lots of things that I actually want to get
yeah.
into, and we'll get into our season review next week. So watch out for that. But we are going to have our Champions League preview show tomorrow because there's one more big game left for the season in the domestic season. We've got,
Oh,
I
Oh
mean,
man.
and I mean, it could get much worse before it gets better because
I
Manchester
thought
City
I
could
thought the season ended yesterday.
Well, for most of us it ended yesterday, but there's about maybe 100, 150 fans that for them that's still left. Chelsea and City, how many ever they have, how many ever they can cobble together.
We are the only thing we are going to do is we are going to lose in the in the CL final. I personally hate both the teams.
Yeah, well, I mean,
And
that's
one of
right.
them
Yeah,
is
do
going
you
to win.
support Chelsea? Do you support Manchester City? I mean, it's gonna get worse either way, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I'm all Chelsea, man. There's no
yeah, I
question
know. I
about
think
this one.
Nah, I can live with the City winning because they're the better team. I don't want Chelsea to they will literally shithouse their way to the Champions League
no,
trophy.
I think most people would rather Chelsea now. I think Chelsea have reached
Yeah,
that point of established power,
100%.
so
Yeah.
like you're like, well, let
So like
Chelsea win over City wins.
Chelsea's
So I
already
think that's one of
1-1,
the few
right?
sticks.
For me, actually, when I started between 2007 or 2008, when I started, Chelsea were our main rivals.
Yeah.
So I don't consider the rivalry between United and Liverpool, although it's a much bigger rivalry. But for me, on a personal level, the primary opponent has always been Chelsea.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how different
My
eras.
The
reasoning
first
is
game
that
I was Drogba scored a injury time winner in a FA Cup final.
Yeah, well, yeah, who hasn't faced that? But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what that happens there. But I mean, like, I think the CL is one of the last things left to beat City with. The last one, the few last sticks to
yeah,
left, and I
that's
think
what
Pep is gonna take that away from us.
I feel
This
like
Yeah, I
Chelsea's
hope.
already
No,
1-1.
actually, yeah, and actually hope City wins because Pep might leave then.
No, he won't. It's already
Nah.
been confirmed. He won't leave. No, he's not
There's
leaving.
no way.
I'm telling you, what's gonna happen is that he's gonna win 3 Premier Leagues and 3 CLs in a row. That's what's gonna
Yeah.
happen. I have a feeling this could be a long season.
I somehow hope Spain gets knocked out, City wins, and Pep goes on to go and manage. But I
Pep is
don't think he will
Well,
manage
Pep
Spain
is
because
Yeah.
Catalan. Pep is fiercely
yeah,
Catalan. So I
Pep
don't
is.
know if he'll want to.
I don't think he'll manage
Yeah.
Spain. Yeah.
Spain.
Plus, I
Yeah, he
think
might
he
not
needs
want to.
something more intense than that. He's looking for like something that keeps him occupied all the time. National team is like too chill for him. He's a very more intense character for that.
Yeah, and
Germany,
plus
I
he's
could have seen him
Catalan, right?
manage
So
Germany.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, he
he
is
won't
Catalan, so
manage.
I don't know if he'd want to manage
Yeah,
Spain
there's
either.
no way he's gonna
Never,
manage Spain.
never.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he probably never will. So anyway,
He's never going to
yeah,
manage
I mean,
Spain.
well, they do have a Catalan manager right now in Luis Enrique, so it's not
Yeah.
entirely that. But I think he's one of the more, he's a little bit more
Yeah. More
passionate
vocal.
about that. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Please do check out that show tomorrow, and we'll come up about the predictions and previews for that game. But thank you so much, Saahil. Thank you so much, Abhijit, for joining me today and sharing your thoughts on this very depressing afternoon, night, whatever time it is that you're watching this. I know we're all reeling, and I think we'll be reeling for a little while longer, but hopefully it gets better each day. But anyway, we'll be back tomorrow. But thank you so much for joining us, and please remember to like, share, and comment on this video. And please remember to subscribe to my channel so we can continue producing more videos. We're going to do quite a few actually. We've got the season reviews. We've also got the Euros coming up. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of content coming up. So you don't want to miss out on that. But thank you so much. Have a good day or night, whatever time you're watching this. And we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.